Decapitated professor, operations in France against the Islamist movement. Paris. The French authorities launched Monday a vast police operation against the Islamist movement, after the beheading on Friday of a professor of history and geography victim of a fatwa, according to the Minister of the Interior, for showing his students caricatures of Muhammad. In the viewfinder, dozens of individuals who do not have a link necessarily with the investigation, but to whom the government clearly wants to send a message. Not a minute of respite for the enemies of the Republic, Minister Gerald Darmanin said on Europe 1 radio. According to a source familiar with the matter, they are people known to the intelligence services for radical sermons and hate messages on social networks. Since the assassination of Samuel Paty, who taught in Conflans-Saint-Laurent, west of Paris, investigators have also placed 11 people in police custody, and more than 80 investigations have been opened against all those who apologically explained, in one way or another, that this professor had been looking for it, said Mr. Darmanin. Counterterrorism investigators are seeking in particular to establish whether the killer, an 18-year-old Chechen Russian, benefited from complicity. Vladimir Vologonzorov, born in Moscow, was killed 9 times by the police. His act caused an electric shock in France. On Sunday, tens of thousands of people demonstrated to defend freedom of expression and say no to obscurantism, while President Emmanuel Macron convened a defense council, during which he hammered, "There will change of camp. Islamists must not be able to sleep peacefully in our country," according to the presidential Élysée Palace. At the end of a 2h30 meeting with Prime Minister Jean Castex, 5 ministers as well as the anti-terrorist prosecutor Jean-François Richard, the head of state announced an action plan against the structures, associations or people close to radicalized circles, and who spread calls to hatred. According to Mr. Darmanin, 51 associative structures will see a certain number of visits by state services throughout the week, and several of them will be dissolved in the Council of Ministers. The minister wants in particular to dissolve the Collective Against Islamophobia in France, CCAF. A certain number of elements allow us to think that it is an enemy of the Republic, and the humanitarian association Baraka City, founded by Muslims with a Salafist profile. Madness seizes the Minister of the Interior who, failing to find anything against our NGO, takes advantage of the emotion aroused following the tragedy of Conflans, replied Baraka City on Facebook. Cyber Islamism. The minister delegate in charge of citizenship, Marlene Schiappa, for her part, brought together the bosses of the police and the gendarmerie on Monday to study new provisions against cyber Islamism, while the Minister of Justice Eric Dupond-Moretti summoned urgently the Attorneys General. The Minister of the Interior also accused the father of a secondary school student from Conflans-Saint-Laurent and a radical Islamist activist, Abdelhakim Sfroui, of having clearly launched a fatwa against Mr. Paty for having shown in class Muhammad cartoons. The 2 men who had launched a mobilization campaign to denounce the professor's initiative are among the 11 detained in the investigation into the attack. Monday at 3 p.m., imams must gather in front of the College of Conflans-Saint-Laurent, according to the mayor of the town. A Masonic organization, Le Grand Orient of France, has called on the public authorities to take action to put an end to the reign of barbarism, while the Special Assize Court of Paris, where 14 defendants are on trial, with the jihadist attacks of January 2015, paid tribute to the professor. The leader of the extreme right-wing Rassemblement National, for her part, called for war legislation. Islamism is a bellicose ideology whose means of conquest is terrorism. Since terrorism is an act of war, it requires war legislation, said Marine Le Pen.